Hello and welcome back to Live from Paris. It's time now for a look at all today's business news. And William Edwards joins me for that. Hello, William.
Hi, Lorna.
So we're going to start with comments from Mario Draghi. Pretty strong comments for the head of the European Central Bank.
Yeah, of course, the European Central Bank is a politically neutral institution, and as is its head, Mario Draghi, like you say. But he has been making quite strong comments, saying a brave leap is needed towards greater integration for the Eurozone. Now, that sounds quite dry, but taken in context, to my ears, that sounds a lot like saying perhaps a move towards Eurobonds is necessary. That's, of course, the system whereby all of the Eurozone nations would borrow together under one flag, as it were, which is seen by some, including French President François Hollande, as a potential solution to the Eurozone debt crisis, but not by Germany's Angela Merkel. So quite bold statements. Let's take a look.
A call for action. A day after European Union leaders failed to find common ground on how to boost the region's stagnant economy, ECB President Mario Draghi sounded the alarm.
We are living a crucial moment in the history of the EU. The sovereign debt crisis has revealed serious weaknesses in its institutional makeup. In this context, the difficulty of finding joint solutions to the crisis have shown up in negative indexes in the markets.
In an effort to ease market turmoil, the ECB recently provided 1 trillion euros in extra liquidity to the Eurozone banks. But Draghi insists this cash injection is just a way to gain time.
We've reached a point in which to survive, the European integration process needs a brave leap of political creativity. Therefore, I have called many times for the need of a growth compact near the well-known fiscal compact.
Draghi's comments echo those of new French President François Hollande, who's called for a new growth component to fighting the crisis. Meanwhile, the idea of closer fiscal integration brings to mind Eurobonds, an issue France and Germany are at odds over, as seen at Wednesday's summit. According to Draghi, structural reform is the way forward to boost competition and jobs. However, the ECB president insists on the independence of his institution. It's up to governments to take decisive action to safeguard the future of the Eurozone.
So Mario Draghi concerned there, and it seems the markets perhaps sharing some of those concerns over recent weeks. How are things looking at the moment on the markets?
Well, of course, the European market's just opening up at the moment. We've seen some modest gains at open of play on the Paris CAC 40 and the FTSE 100. But I should say in Spain, we just got news that shares in Bankia are suspended. Of course, that's the bank at the centre of the debt crisis. It was partly state-backed, it was partly nationalised a couple of weeks ago, and its shares plummeted last week. Its shares have now been suspended on the Madrid bourse. More on that, of course, as we get it. Now, over in Asia, let's take a look at how things have closed there. Similar uncertainty, really, to what we were seeing in the previous US trading session. Things did generally end up, apart from on the Shanghai market. There you can see that most of the shares did manage to struggle into positive territory by the close of play.
OK, well, there's one stock that's become a bit of a celebrity at the moment, and that is, of course, Facebook, after its big launch earlier this week. So while we're on the markets, how's that doing?
Well, it's still not really recovered from its slump that it saw after it launched. Of course, it launched in a blaze of publicity. You can see the founder, Mark Zuckerberg, there, kicking it off on the NASDAQ. But it was a technical glitch on the NASDAQ, which is thought to be responsible for an estimated $100 million worth of losses for brokers. Apparently, they could not tell for a couple of hours exactly what their positions were on that stock within a couple of hours of opening. When they found out how much stock they held precisely, it was more in general than they thought they had got. They sold it all off. This saw the price drop. And, well, the stock hasn't really recovered much since. Facebook is also, their backers are also facing legal action for the listing. And there are, of course, investigations from the Securities and Exchange Commission over these problems. So, embattled at the moment, I think you'd say.
Watch this space. OK, well, despite all of that, Facebook's still forging ahead. It's launched an important new app today.
Yeah, it's an iPhone app. It's called Camera. Basically, it allows you to take pictures on your iPhone, as you could already, but it's all linked in directly into Facebook. Now, why is this interesting from a business point of view? It's not just another app, because Facebook last month paid $1 billion for a different company called Instagram. They make a very similar app. So why is Facebook bringing out its own version of this app, having just recently bought Instagram? This is not Instagram technology they've incorporated. This is something they were already working on. It does much the same thing as Instagram, and it's a good question, really, as to why Facebook does need Instagram. Facebook's network is considerably larger. OK, Instagram was quite popular, but you can see that they've come up with a pretty decent app for their first attempt already on a first shot. I'm sure it'll get better. It's not quite up to Instagram standards yet. It could do with some polish, but perhaps Facebook bought it just to squash the competition, to bring it into the fold before it got any bigger and became a threat. But yeah, Facebook and Instagram will be competitors for a while at least.
OK, well, we're going to move over to the UK now, because bank customers there, this is rather unwelcome news, they could face a change if regulators get their way. Tell us more.
This might be a surprise to those in the US or France, but in the UK you can get a bank account for free, a current account if you're in credit. The banks still have managed to make incredibly large profits off their customers and their money, but the Bank of England says, the head of banking supervision says that free accounts distort the market and encourage mis-selling of financial products. He says it makes other services more expensive than they should be. So it could be an end of the road for free banking in the UK.
Sad news, I have to say. But we're going to move on now. Next, flying high at lower costs. That's what Air France hopes to do after it unveiled some details of its latest cost-cutting plan. That was on Thursday. This will see the carrier focus more on no-frills flights. Unions are concerned, though, as the plan also envisages a reduction in staff numbers.
Lower fares but fewer jobs. Air France has a new plan to cut costs. The biggest change will be in the company's short-haul flights, where a no-frills, low fare will be introduced. Its discount brand Transavia will also be expanded, forming one of 3 new business units. The plan is to save €2 billion a year by increasing productivity, but also cutting jobs. It's been reported that some 5,000 posts will go, mostly through retirement and a voluntary redundancy scheme. But compulsory job cuts haven't been ruled out, and Air France staff are worried.
If I have to work more tomorrow, I'll do it to keep my job.
It's better to make bigger efforts now, so we can come back later.
At present, Air France has 58,000 employees, made up of 39,000 ground staff, 14,000 cabin crew and 5,000 pilots. For the first time in recent years of cost-cutting, all areas will be affected. The unions say there isn't much to talk about with management.
We can discuss reorganisation, but we're not talking about salaries and clearly not redundancies.
But the airline group reported a net loss of €890 million last year and has debts of some €6.5 billion. Big changes will be needed to restore the group to profit.
Well, that's just about all we've got time for in business news. Thanks very much indeed, William Edwards, for that. And that's it from us for now. But do stay tuned. Rebecca Bowering will be here with more news headlines right after the international weather. Next.